Спасибо, что пришли, друзья. У нас это случилось, оно началось и однозначно уже пойдет дальше. Микрофон. Вот. Очень рад всех видеть, так сказать, что в 10 утра, вот прямо сейчас мы беседовали с Уильямом, и Уильям говорит, что вероятность того, чтобы в 10 утра пришло... Вероятность того, чтобы в 10 утра пришел... Поменяем? Раз, да, все пошло. Так вот, он говорит, что собрать, например, в Европе это практически нереально. Вот, и про это все рассказывают, про то, как мы здесь круто можем собраться, это раз. А второе, всех всегда напрягает то, что у нас довольно высокий уровень вопросов. Дело в том, что вообще, как бы, вот, ну, как, немножко, как сказать, патриотичная философия, что ли, что вот если брать интернет и не брать китайский, а вот весь интернет не китайский делить, то вот есть половина. Это США, ну не США, англоязычный интернет. А потом идет, сразу вторым, идет русский интернет. Вот, в отличие от, например, нет испанского, там франкоязычных, то есть там, португальских, много людей по миллионам, если считать. Но конкретно вот мы идем, так сказать, цифры, здесь китайцы, англоязычные и вот русский язык. И русский интернет чем интересен тем, что у нас довольно много выкладывают настоящей живой информации. То есть не рекламной какой-то, а то, что как бы приносит пользу, что в западном мире принято коммерциализировать и использовать. Но у нас получается такое количество глубоких энтузиастов, которые интересуются, так сказать, не то, что каким-то вот из какой банки наливать, а как это работает, собственно, почему это приходит к такому результату. И у нас, как бы я лично знаю довольно много людей, которые стартуют какие-то комплекты, ну, вообще какие-то решения в области сетифермерства на нашей, так сказать, сложном, маленьком, небольшом рынке. И последнее, что еще хотел бы, так сказать, так, не последнее, вернее, а, так сказать, еще один факт, который тоже вот так очень меня поразил в свое время, о том, что если брать в США, и кто, вот, иммигранты первой волны, которые стали миллионерами, вот, после того, как они сами приехали, родились в другом месте, эмигрировали в США, стали там работать, то вот выходцы из России занимают первое место, за ними идут выходцы из Великобритании, а потом выходцы из Израиля, и с большим трудом идут дальше, по-моему, немцы. Вот, наши, по-моему, 9%. Это довольно много. Это говорит о том, что у нас просто люди могут работать индивидуально и совмещают большое количество компетенций, возможно, из-за локации, что ты должен быть уметь все, и это, в принципе, у нас продолжается. И это очень хорошо ложится на сетифермерство, потому что сетифермер должен разбираться в электрике, в биологии и в химии. И, собственно, подавляющее большинство, ну и в деньгах, разумеется, если он успешный сетифермер. То есть, как минимум 4 специальности у нас должны быть. И объединяя, так сказать, всю эту тематику, у нас конференции будут доклады, посвященные всем этим направлениям. В подавляющем большинстве они будут читаться либо практиками, либо какими-то известными людьми в этой области. В общем, спасибо, что пришли. Начинаем. В общем, Любая. Я бы хотел коротко представить Славу. Слава долгое время курировал, например, такой проект, как GHE. Вот, в общем, не случайный человек у нас на рынке, знает лично всех. И ему не надо было писать подводки к тому, как объявлять спикеров, потому что Слава знает и всех. В общем, Слава, начинается. Спасибо, что пришли, друзья.
Да, всем еще раз действительно спасибо, что все пришли. Очень здорово видеть полный зал. И я хочу представить нашего хедлайнера, нашего спикера номер 1, Уильяма Тексье. Все, я думаю, а кто не знает, тот, я думаю, должен прочитать книгу «Гидропоника для всех», автор которой является Уильям. Книга будет продаваться на стендах в выставочной части нашей конференции. Хочется сказать про Уильяма, что это не только автор книги, но и это основатель GHE, основатель терраакватики компании. И тот человек, который, ну это просто человек-легенда, если, в общем-то, кто-то не до конца знает, что это за могучий представитель нашего рынка, то обязательно в интернете зачекайте и посмотрите. Я приглашаю сюда на сцену Уильяма Тексье. Уильям, мы ждем тебя. Уильям, давайте встретим Уильяма.
Здравствуйте. Я очень рад вас видеть сегодня. Добро пожаловать в СИТИФЕРМЕР. And this is all my Russian for today. Okay. My talk will be a little bit about what is hydroponic, how you can use it, and what you can do with it. I let my wife Lucetta, I think tomorrow, day after tomorrow, will talk more precisely about city farming and you know all the things involved with city farming. Can you move that? Stone. It works. Oh, you, okay, thank you. So, just basically what's hydroponics in 2 words is just growing, I call it the art of growing plants in a neutral substrate or just in plain water. In our case, I like very much to grow in plain water. It has many advantages. We will talk about that later on. There is one thing that is extremely important to know. It is really the basic. Once you know that, you can forget all the rest. Hydroponic works because of oxygenation. You need to oxygenate your water. You need to circulate your water. The difference between a hydroponic system and a flower pot is just the circulation and the fact that the water is oxygenated. Well-oxygenated water is for plant roots, it's exactly like a very nice soil, you know, well-aerated soil. And at the contrary, when the water doesn't move, no more oxygen, then it's like a very, very bad environment. Why do we do that? It's because all of these advantages, there is many more. I don't want to spend much time on that, but you probably all know. We go much faster. Very important, we control the nutrition of the plant. And this is very important. We can exactly tell the plant, give the plant what we need to give it. What else? We save time. It goes a lot faster. We save space because you can put the plants much closer one from another. And actually, really, if you want to grow in a city, if you want to grow in an environment when your season is really short, you need hydroponics. Most of my examples come from Paris because there is a lot of city farming in Paris. The city was kind enough to give spaces to people, to young people to start operation. And it's really interesting what's happening. A lot of people are growing on roofs, they are growing in parking lots that were not used anymore and stuff like that. And so, if in that environment you don't use the technology that improve the speed and the quality of your plant, really it's not worth it. So it's not a choice. I don't think you have a choice. You've got to use it. Very quickly, there is only 2 parameters that are different from growing in soil and growing in hydro. There are 2 parameters that you have to control, and one is pH, and the other one is conductivity. pH, you know, it's a scale that tells you if something is basic or acidic. And in hydro, we always grow in an environment that is a little bit acidic, like between 5.5 and 6.5, usually. Most plants, even plants that in soil are famed as liking basic soil, in hydro they would like a little bit of acidic. So you always grow between 5.5, 6.5. The limits are not exactly strict, and it's also good to not stay on the same pH all the time. This is important because at some pH, some elements absorb better than others. So if you are always at the same pH, you might eventually create a deficiency. So if you shift along that range of pH from 5.5 to 6.5, you are in a safe range, nothing is going to happen, your plants are happy, and normally you don't have a deficiency. Talking about deficiency, it's one other thing important to know, it's much better to prevent than to cure. It's very easy to keep a system in balance and have no problem. It's a lot more difficult to resolve a problem. So the idea is to stay on top of it and really avoid problems. And this is easy. And again, fix a problem sometimes might be a little bit tricky. Thank you. This is an example of different stuff, different pH. I don't even think you can read it. It's so small. Can you please? And your pH you can test. You don't need a fancy machine really to test your pH, because it does not matter if you are at 6.1 or 6.2. It's not laboratory precise. Little drops like this one or the one that's used for swimming pool, little drops are enough. Don't spend money really on a pH meter. Sometimes they break, sometimes you have to calibrate it all the time. Stay on drops. You will never know exactly if you're at 5.5 or 5.6. It really doesn't matter. So it's the most cheapest and easiest way to do things. You don't need to go fancy on that. Second parameter is conductivity. This is a bit more complicated. When there is no salt in water, when water is completely pure, the water does not conduct electricity. Or we say it has an infinite resistance. As soon as you put some salt in that water, the water is going to start to carry electricity. So the more salt you put, the more electricity the water will carry. And this is the way we use to measure vaguely, because it's not very precise actually, but this is a way to measure about what you have in your water. So electron conductivity, then you need a true meter. You cannot just do it with drops or with anything. You need to buy a meter. And it's very important. If you don't do that, you can do without measuring your conductivity, but then you have to change your solution all the time. And you spend a lot more money on nutrient and you spend a lot of money on water. So a little meter, I don't know how much they are in Russia, but in Europe you can find a basic one for around like 45 euros in that range of price. It's relatively cheap. It's not very reliable, but it's enough for most people. And conductivity is something that you learn to play with as you get experience in your growing techniques. You can do a lot with conductivity. This will control the intake of water in your plants, for instance. If your conductivity is very low, your plant will intake much more water. So for instance, in summer when the weather is hot and you need your plant to be able to get a lot of water, you lower your conductivity. At the contrary, in winter, you raise your conductivity. You can play a lot of tricks with conductivity. So there is a lot more to it than most people think. And there is a range, of course, for every stage of the plant. If you go to an extreme, like if you go over a certain point, then the water is going to flow from the plant to the solution. Eventually, you'll dry your plant. Okay. If your conductivity is too high, just your plant cannot intake water anymore. And if it's even higher, then it will lose water. So you can really control a lot of things with conductivity. You can stress a little bit your plant. I'm not a big fan about that, but sometimes it can be useful to stress a little bit a plant for a reason or another. To do that, you use conductivity, among other things. The meter will tell you what roughly how much salt you have in your water, and again, it's not very precise, but it's a good idea. But it will not tell you which mix you have in your water. So this is our job as a nutrient manufacturer, to give you balanced stuff that will not accumulate in the water. If you don't see your conductivity going down, or as a contrary, if you see it going up all the time into your solution, it means something is wrong with the nutrient that you are using. Stunk. Roots. I love to show roots because this is one of the particularity of hydroponic technology. You can look at the root of the plants, and actually I could not even grow a plant anymore without looking at the roots, really. This is just to tell you that most of the time, 99% of the time, people grow in hydroponic with mineral nutrient. But we developed a technology with which you can grow also with organic nutrients. And this technology is called bioponics. So I'm not going to talk very much about bioponics. It's a bit more complicated. The difference really is simple. Minerals are in the water, the plant can uptake them right away. Organic, the plant food, the molecule is inside of organic molecule, and that organic molecule needs to be broken down so that the plant can intake the element. It's a little bit more tricky, it takes a little bit more time to learn. It's very interesting, and for some people who wants to grow organic, you can grow, nowadays you can grow organic with hydroponics. Even in the US you can have a certification, you can have an organic certification. Not in Europe where we are, but in the US you can. Voilà, so we put together that little nutrient solution, and if you use to roots, you see the roots are not exactly the same beautiful white color, because this nutrient give a little bit of color to the roots. Okay, now just to briefly show you the few types of systems that you can use when you are a city grower, or when you want to use to grow for yourself a few plants. This one is an old system that we made in, I think, 78 or something like that. 1978, not 18, okay, but still it's been a while. The idea, as I told you before, the idea is oxygenation. So in that type of system, and you can reproduce that with just 2 pots. So all you need to is to find 2 pots that go one into the other, okay? And try to find a plastic that is really neutral and will not damage your plants. So 1 pot into another pot, and then a little air pump to create a circulation. The air lifts the water, and the water drips all the time. And most people think that we are watering. We are not watering, we are oxygenating. Eventually the roots are going to go down and directly feed into the nutrient solution below. But in the meantime, the dripping feed the plants. It's a very extremely efficient system, very low tech, very easy to reproduce. And with that you can, we use, I think I have a few slides, yeah, this is how they look in real life. We manufacture them in recycled plastics. Yeah, back. Yeah, and you see you can grow a lot of different plants in a system like that. This was grapes, grown not for wine, but for the grapes. And we kept that plant a long time. It was outside of our greenhouse, then it's been stolen. It's a shame because it would have become a monster plant. But okay, just to show you, you don't have to use only for one season crops. You can use also these systems for many season crops. I will show you later, we use them for trees, we use them for grapes, for ornamental bush, a lot of stuff, according to what you want to do. But most of the time, you make herbs out of it, stuff like that. We have many restaurants that they like to have a little system like that, and in the restaurant room, and they go and they pick their fresh herbs in front of the clients. Very fancy, and it works. I mean, it gets really good stuff. This is another thing: is that you don't grow in water to grow plants that are completely full of water. You grow in water, but the idea is to have plants that are nutritious and full of active principle. And you can get that in hydro, because the idea is that you unblock most of the blockage that can happen in a plant. You allow the plant to express all its genetic potential, which means that if you have a plant with a shitty, genetic potential, then you get nothing. So it's important to choose the cultivar, to choose the plant that you are going to grow. And this is a factor that we cannot do anything about it. we can again unblock all the blockage that make the plant will not express all these genes, but we cannot create the gene. So first you have to choose a good plant. One of the problem of the food that we eat today is that they are selected for their productivity, but not for their quality. And this is one very good reason to grow your own food, really. When we choose a variety to grow in our greenhouse or for ourselves, we always use the same variety that people grow in organic cultivation. All variety, they are not so productive as the others, but they are much more delicious and much more nutritious. They should sell about 2 times or 3 times the price because they contain about 2 or 3 times the same amount of vitamin and mineral salt that the normal plant you eat every day. And this we verified relatively often. We've done often analysis of what's in the plant really, because this is what is interesting. We don't grow plant just to grow plant, okay? So, and always become like that. About 200% mineral content and vitamin content. And of course, as you see, you can grow different plants in the same system. If you grow, there are different situations. If you grow for yourself, of course, you want something that is good. If you grow for commercially, even at a very small scale, but Lucetta will talk more about that. You're not aiming at growing extreme quantity. You're aiming at growing extreme quality, and you get the best price for your crop. People is ready to pay 2 times, 3 times, 4 times for something that has no pesticide, no herbicide, and that is really nutritious and good. So it's priceless today because it's becoming so rare. Master? Okay, this is an example of bigger plants that we put in those systems. I mean, you see, it's not very fancy. We don't clean the system every day, but we grow trees. I don't know how long this one has been in that pot, but at least a couple of years, and we got trees that goes 10 years back. It's also another application that you can do. It's decoration for city halls, you know, and bank entrance, stuff like that. You can use hydroponics for decoration to grow extremely good large plants. Please. Another one, always in that same system. This is a tree that it's a medicinal from Africa, and it's a really beautiful plant. We're still going, this picture is about 2-3 years old, but we're still at that same plant. It's a bit bigger. Of course, someday they reach a point they don't grow anymore. This is the genetic that don't allow them to grow more. But we are sure that we have plants in our greenhouse that never been so big in nature, because in nature there is always something that will block that plant from growing completely. Maestro. Okay, it's about the same. That's another system that I like very much for this situation of city farming. This one size is about 1 square meter, a little bit less than that. But in that little system, you can really grow a full garden. Unfortunately, I don't have the very images of this with plant, but the idea it's a technology that's called ebb and flow, and you might have heard that name. It's reproduce the ebb and flow of the sea, which means that you have a timer, you have a tank under. And then you have a timer, and every 15 minutes the pump is going to go up and flood the tray on top. Then the pump is going to stop and the water goes down. It's a very extremely easy system. It's safe. I mean, it's difficult not to succeed with that. It's really difficult to make a mistake. You can reproduce that also very easily with 1 bucket and a tray on top. Then you need maybe a stand to put the tray. But I mean, I know the plastic here, the imported system are very expensive. And so if you can reproduce, and you can, everything I show you, you can make yourself with stuff that you find here locally. And eventually I would explain you in more detail how to do it. But anyway, so tray on top, tank in the bottom, 50 minutes every hour of event flow. It's a little bit what in another industry it's called sub-irrigation table. But sub-irrigation table has a substrate into the pot. In hydroponic it's event flow and the substrate is neutral. It's most of the time it's cocoa fiber. And this is also an important point. Each system has a substrate that really fit better with the system. For instance, the first one I showed you, the one we call aquafarm with that circulation, the pot into the pot. The best substrate for that, in my opinion, is really clay pebble, little clay pebble that are neutral. In that system, the best substrate would be cocoa fiber. Cocoa fiber with a little bit of perlite. And also, the climate being what it is, that cocoa fiber help a lot to stabilize temperature, so it enlarges a little bit the season. For somebody who's never worked in hydroponic, growing in something like that, it's very, very similar to growing in soil in terms of what you see and what you experience. And so it's not so frightening that having your roots like in front of your eyes. And also it's, again, extremely, extremely simple to do. Can you... Okay, so this is what you do. Those are strawberries. You can put a lot of variety of plants. Yeah, this you see the different plants you can grow with that. But this is a little bit special. This picture, it's what they call aquaponics. In that case, the plants are fed by the fish. You see the fish below in the tank. There is a fish poop, and then every hour for 15 minutes we raise, we circulate, and the plant. In fact, the plant clean the water. It's not perfect. The plant have some deficiencies. The fish poo is not sufficient, and you can do that for yourself. It's fun and it works very well, and you get your food practically for free. You don't use nutrients. You use almost nothing. You need a little bit of supplement, and we do a supplement for that situation because the fish drops are not completely exhausted. They don't contain everything that the plant needs, but most of what the plant needs. I would not suggest. It's a fashion now to start. This type of technology as a commercial venture. I don't believe in it very much as a commercial venture, really. It's not, unless you really produce fish. Then in that case, the plant will be just a little side something. But if you want to do it at home for yourself, it's really fun and it works well. Okay, after this, now if you want to grow a little bit bigger, if you want to grow on a little bit more space than 1 or 2 or 3 square meters for yourself, then you need system that will be, those one are short, but that will be tubes, and tubes that can be a lot longer than that. Then we're talking more of systems that are going to be used by semi-professional or a small city farmer, the one that Nuseta is going to talk about tomorrow, Sunday, I think it's Sunday. And this is how it works. There is always a level of water in the chamber. This is a difference with other technology that are a little bit similar, but not absolutely the same. There is a spray of water all along the chamber, so the chamber is oxygenated all the time. Not water, but oxygenated all the time. And there is a little device that allows you to raise or lower the level. Those systems can be from the small one that I just showed you to huge, large commercial operation. This is something that you can scale at any size you want. And this is more, again, for professional, or if you have a big family and you want to feed your family and friends. Do I talk too fast for you translating? Is it okay? Yeah? Okay. Next, please. Yeah, this is just a little bigger size, but again, it can go to any size you want, really. We stop most time at 4 meter long, sometimes 6 meter long, but after that, it's not practical to move those big things. And again, roots. This is the way they look at the beginning. Actually, in this system you cannot really start the seed in place. You have to transplant. So you start a little seedlings, in most time in a neutral substrate. So you can reach the root, then you transplant. And this is how they look just after they get adapted to the system. And this is much later, and it's not the same plant. But just to show you the use of this type of system, this is in France. It's a commercial operation close to our office. Young guys who started exactly that, what we call a family farm, or it's city farm, something that's big, that's small, and aim to quality. This is the difference. A small scale, different variety of plant growing, and quality. And advantages of a system like that when you grow in a city is the weight of the plant, the weight of the system, because the weight of this, it's a lot smaller, a lot lighter than if you have to put soil, on all the roof. So this is a limitation that I've seen often in Paris, how much the roof can take. And so in a system like that, you can grow in roof where you could not in other system. There is also the problem of getting rid of your refuses, of your substrate, of this and that. In that case, all you have to move is a little bit of water. This is Larry Brook, founder of GH in the US. Are we going to go fast because I understand time is running out? Okay, very rapidly, this one is a crop that was grown in, go back please, go back. That was growing in with organic nutrient. And of course from here you don't see much difference. Another example of it's not even aquaponics. I just put a few fish and we make strawberry out of it. It's not. It's in all the way of our building. It's just for fun, but it works. Yeah, as you can see, we got. I think we got 4 fish and we got more strawberries than fish. Okay, this is the version of the tubes that I showed you before. They exist in version like this that you can. Technically they are the same. They will produce exactly the same thing, but you can dismantle, you can clean. It's a double wall, so it's got some possibility of insulation, and these are things that you can find completely, raw, and drill yourself, assemble yourself. So at the end of the day, again, I know the price is very important. So at the end of the day, you can make very big system with little money because you do most of the job. You just buy the plastic and then you do the rest. And I know many people like to do that rather than spending money on something that is already made. It's another, but this is more for like, it's the most powerful and most advanced, even so it's very old, technology that there is in hydro. It's a spinner that spins a fork all the time with a root mat like that, and believe me, a plant that has that type of root mat, it's his mouse, a plant like that can eat a lot and be happy and grow extremely fast and well. We've developed also other nutrients. If you want to address plants that are growing and fruiting at the same time, like strawberry, tomato, pepper, and stuff like that, then we made a special nutrient for that, because then you don't need 2 bottles are enough. And of course, organic nutrient. This organic nutrient, of course, works in soil very well, but this is the one that we use to make bioponics, that we use to make organic hydroponics. Again, don't start with that. that when you get a little bit of experience, it's really fun to do and gives extremely interesting results. One of the bad thing about, not bad, but one of the things about hydro is that you grow big plants because there is a lot of nitrogen in the solution all the time. There is much less nitrogen in organic. The plants never get that big, but the yield is about the same. Not the size of the plant, but the size of the crop you get out of the plant. And this is 3 slides about those are tomatoes grow in hydro. See, they are not as big and green as they would be with minerals. Voilà. But you see that you can really grow a real crop in organic, which was not possible a few years ago. Everybody would say it's impossible, and it doesn't work. It does work. Voilà. That's the crop at the end. Again, the plants don't look as good as they would if I was growing with mineral nutrient, but I don't mind really about the plant. I mind about the tomatoes I get out. And I always thought that the stuff we got out of our systems are really nutritious and good. But when we grew organic, it was even a little bit better, a little bit more sugar. Yeah, go ahead, because I think I need to stop. Okay, just want to show you something. Continue a little bit. Stop. I used only nutrients for many years, and it works extremely well. But there are many natural stuff nowadays on the market that are very helpful and do make a difference, really do make a difference. So very briefly, I don't know if you can see from here. Let's start left bottom. Fulvic acid is something that will improve your rooting at the beginning of the life of the plant. Humic acid is something that will bring a lot of stability in your nutrient solution, and also help your plants intake nutrient. The next one is somewhere we have Seaweed Extract. That is something that will promote more bud start, more flowering size at the beginning when the plant is in transition, like tomato is starting to flower, for instance. That seaweed will promote more flowering size. So the use of all, what else we have there? We have nettle brew. Nettle brew is something that is very popular in France. It's from the old days. It goes from a supplement nutrient to a pesticide according to the quantity that you use. Again, roots in hydro. I didn't have much time to talk about all that, but when we grow with organic, we like to put microorganisms into the solution, and what you see here, the white stuff, are trichoderma that are growing on the root of that plant. And this is an example of the type of roots you get on a cutting with fulvic acid. Voilà, and I think it's all for today. My time is out. Apparently, they're going to come and throw me out. Okay. So thank you very much for your time, and it was really a pleasure to be here.
Раз. Все работает? Еще раз здравствуйте, Уильям. Скажите, пожалуйста, новая линейка органических удобрений, там были значки сертификатов, то есть это принимается уже сообществом как органика? Потому что сейчас идут споры о том, что гидропонные продукты не являются органическими.
No, hydroponic is not organic if you use mineral nutrients. There's no doubt about that. It's not organic. It's got a lot of advantages. It's very clean. And frankly, as much as the use of mineral in soil is very controversial for many reasons, in a tube like that or in a closed system, frankly, for me, it's not a problem. Because all the environmental problem linked to the mineral salt are not an issue in those tubes, okay? But again, no, you could not get organic certification. We try, and there is in the US hydroponic certification. It's certified that the plant is clean, free of pesticide, herbicide, and stuff like that, and free of mineral residue. Now, if you want to grow organic, again, you have to use an organic nutrient. And then, yes, it is organic, by all definition. They don't accept it in Europe because they are a little bit stubborn and they need soil. They need to put their hand in the dirt to be happy. But frankly, there is no reason for it. It is organic if you use an organic nutrient.
Thank you. Есть ли еще вопросы? Ага, вижу, сейчас подойду. Раз. О, все работает. Ну вот у нас теперь здесь еще в зале микрофон. Прошу прощения. Саша будет подходить к тем, у кого будут вопросы, соответственно. И слушаем следующий вопрос.
Уильям, добрый день, меня зовут Александр. Скажите, пожалуйста, вот вы показали там элементы аквапоники на слайдах, вот я здесь вот его рукой машу. Вот. И меня интересует соотношение, сколько рыб, там, на сколько кустов, ну, вот это вот соотношение между рыбой и растениями, оно какое? Это раз. И второе, вы сказали, что в выделениях рыбы есть почти все питательные вещества, необходимые для растений, а чего не хватает? То что еще нужно добавить в жидкость, чтобы растения получили полноценное питание?
Okay, so how many plants for how many fish? It's a good question, I don't have the answer. If you read the literature, you find a lot of different answers. Nobody seems to agree on that. So I guess the best way is just to test your water and make sure that your ammonium level is not too high. And look at your plant, look at your fish, make sure that the environment is good enough for fish. I personally, when I start, I didn't know nothing about aquaponics a few years ago, so I've decided to put a system in my greenhouse just to learn experience. And what we did is to start with a few fish and then add fish as we go. As the plants start to grow and start to absorb elements, as the microorganisms get in place and start to break down the element, then you can add up some fish. Check your water for nitrogen and ammonia, and then as long as your water stays in good condition and your fish look happy, I guess you can add up more fish. Every grower apparently in that field does something different. Now, as for the element that are missing, it's often, definitely always iron. There is not enough iron in the fish poop, so you need to add iron. And if your water is not hard, but I believe here you have hard water, it's not a problem. But if your water is not hard, you need to add up some calcium. And a good range of microelements is also very important and will make a difference. I have some slides, I don't have them with me, with meta comparison with supplement and without supplement, and it's really dramatic. And again, what we have, it's only iron, a range of micros, in our case calcium, and a little bit of magnesium.
Давайте еще один хоть хороший, бодрый вопрос прямо. Саша, да, у нас уже даже есть человек с микрофоном. Слушаем вас, говорите.
Скажите, а какое максимальное ppm у вас было в растворе? Слышно? Какой максимальный ppm у вас было в растворе гидропонном? И второй вопрос. Вот у вас дерево росло в системе. Насколько я понимаю, оно, объем контейнера 20 литров. То есть для дерева какое и вообще для гидропоники корнеобитаемое пространство достаточно и для роста больших деревьев?
Yeah. Okay. PPM. Since I left US, I don't use PPM anymore. I mean EC now, Electron Conductivity. So, but it changed from plant to plant really. Some plants like lettuce and lettuce are the one maybe that need the less. You run at a conductivity of around 1.4 to 1.6 to 1.8. Now, at the other extreme, plant like tomatoes needs a conductivity of 2.5 to 3 to 3.5. The 3.5 for me is the upper limit, and at this limit you will probably already kill quite a few plants. So never go above 2.2, 2.5. It's pretty safe for, let's say, bigger plants. Other question was? The size of the size. No, since the plants get their nutrition already in contact with the root mat all the time, they don't need to make big root mats like they would do in soil. In soil, they go very far to look for food. In our case, they are very, very contained and they have the food they need. And at the contrary, I'm trying sometimes to keep the container really small. I never had even the biggest tomatoes never blocked really a channel. It's a completely another situation than soil. And the root mat, if you compare a root mat from soil than from hydro, you will see they're completely different. The one we have, we call them water roots, kind of. And again, they don't need to be too big. Even in a huge tomato, you'll have a relatively small root mat compared to the plant.
Давайте все поаплодируем Вильяму. Очень здорово, что он к нам приехал, рассказал свою лекцию.
Thank you everybody for your time and enjoy. I hope you enjoy growing.